Can you tell this was a batch filming day? I've been wearing the same thing for like 4 different videos I just filmed. So, this is the start of a reading vlog, which I am trying to get better at, so I'm just gonna keep making them. I'm so sorry if they don't come out great, but I just want to get better at them. They're so fun to make. Some of my very favorite booktubers do all kinds of vlogs, and I want to be one of them. So, on that note, today I'm starting this reading vlog where I am going to be reading some 2024 favorites of some of my favorite booktubers. Now, this is, obviously not an all-inclusive list, but the biggest thing is these are books that not already had interest in, but like definitely, I did not push myself out of my comfort zone as far as other people's favorites. Like, there are definitely a few booktubers who I was like, oh yes, love, love, love. Go to their page. In their top 10 video, there wasn't anything like screaming to me, so is that cheating? I don't know. Maybe someday we will go out of our comfort zone. But right now, we are reading things that my favorite booktubers recommended that I also wanted to read. So to kick it off, we are reading a book that I already own, so that's very convenient. That book is Monstrilio by Gerardo Samano Cordova. The accent marks are throwing me off, so I don't know if I pronounced that exactly correctly. However, this is a book that I own. It's been on my TBR for a little while, and this book is one that I am reading off of Allie from All I Do Is Read's top 10 list. I really wanted to read Beautyland, but my library has like a really, really long wait list, and I'm also nervous to read it. Even though it's like something about Philly is in there, which I love because that's where I live. But anyways, my choice from Allie is Monstrilio. So this is about a grieving mother who like cuts off a piece of her deceased son's lung and kind of treats it like its own little baby, and it kind of like comes to life. That's my very, very vague and probably very wrong synopsis. So we shall see. I am going to possibly edit a video tonight, and then I'm gonna hunker down and read this. Tomorrow I am going to be cat hanging with my friend's cat for a little bit because he just had surgery and she's out of town. Gotta make sure he's okay. And so I'm gonna do a lot of reading then. Hopefully tomorrow's also the Eagles game, the NFC Championship, so it's gonna be a busy day, but I hopefully will get a good amount of reading done. So I will check in later. Hello. So it is the next morning. I actually didn't read any of Monstrilio last night. I ended up editing a video and then I was sleepy, so I went to sleep. And now I am at my friend's house who is out of town, and I'm just came over to feed her cat, just making sure he's okay, and he is. He's so cute. I will obviously insert clips of him because he's adorable. His name is Alvin. He's missing an eyeball and several teeth, and his little tongue sticks out. He's just amazing. So I am just kind of hanging out here, spending time with him so he's not lonely. And I'm so sorry that my cat voice just came on, but yeah, so now I'm gonna start reading, and I will check in when I have anything to say. This afternoon is the NFC Championship game, so the Eagles are playing, and it's all very nerve-wracking, but hopefully we will win and be on our way to the Super Bowl later today. So time for some reading, and I'll check back in when I have an update. Okay, I'm literally on the second paragraph and I already have something to say. I want to just kind of read this to you because it just, I don't know, it says something to me. Her son was alive and now he isn't. No thunder, no angels weeping, no cloaked death, no grace, just his silent body unbreathing and the blunt realization that this is it. So yeah, just me, my recent experience with death, that feels so like poignant. Like, I get that. It was like to me, there was a shift in the universe, but in reality, there wasn't really. Hopefully that makes sense. But anyways, back to reading. Hello. So yesterday was a very exciting day. The Eagles won the NFC Championship, which is awesome. So we're going to the Super Bowl. So that's super exciting. So I haven't really read any more of Monstrilio right now. Today is Monday the 27th, and also happens to be 5 months since my dad died. So I'm feeling a little, down today. And Monstrilio has a lot about grief in it. I've only read 40 pages, and there have already been some quotes that like really stuck out to me about grief and just the absolute insanity that it is. So yeah, today I am just about to go meet a friend for coffee, and then I'm gonna go work out in my bar class. Then I think I'm just gonna come home and do some more reading. Like I said, just feeling kinda down, just kind of not super chatty or anything. So that's what today holds, and I will check back in a little bit. Hello, today is Tuesday the 28th, and I am only about 100 pages into Monstrilio still. Unfortunately, I just didn't have a lot of time yesterday to read. I was doing a lot of talking to my husband all day on the couch, went to coffee with a friend, and, went to my bar classes, and then came home, and I got some done, but not a ton. But anyways, currently on page 103, and I did go back though and tab those quotes that I had mentioned yesterday about grief. This one's just kind of silly, I guess. I don't know. It's talking about a flower, the dogwood flowers that grow on this tree near their house. And it says, I believed that the flower was my son reincarnated. One believes the stupidest things in grief, whatever it takes. And so the next one is a conversation where she's talking to her mother, and she says, I only realized then that she had lost her grandchild, her one grandchild. How bizarre that someone so far away as my mother then seemed in this large sunny house in Mexico, with its terracotta floors, arranged flowers and paintings in gilded frames, so far away from my son's ashes, from the bed from which he never woke up, could feel his loss. Santiago was so mine, I could not fathom her feeling him gone. And I think that's like just a really powerful quote in how like grief can really be selfish and it can be hard to like see other people's loss as even coming close to comparing yours. And it's like something that can be recognized but also is hard to control, I guess. It's just one of those things, even if you're doing your best to make it not so. So far, what's happened is our main character, Magos, has lost her son, Santiago, and she and her husband, Joseph, lived in upstate New York, but they're Mexican. So after he died, Magos cut out his lung. Now, he had like breathing problems his whole life, and that's kind of why he ended up dying, was because of something to do with his breathing. And she's like, I just want to keep a little piece of him with me. Obviously, this does not go over well with her husband. He's like, you're insane. You ruined our son. And so she ends up going back to Mexico to be with her mother. She takes this lung with her. And, of course, she's super, like, secretive about it because it's very, very weird. So Jackie, her mother's, like, kind of housekeeper, but I think at this point they're just, like, very, very close friends. But she lives with them and all of that. She sees it, and she's like, you need to be careful with that because there's a story in my town. My great-grandmother's cousin, when she was young, wanted a daughter, but she didn't have a husband or even a lover. And then this very sweet little girl in the village died, and the great-grandmother's cousin snuck into the wake and cut out her heart. And from that, she like fed it and grew it, and it did not grow into a daughter, but it grew into a man, a that, they fell in love and then they had a child together. But right after she had the baby, they were both stabbed to death because it was not hers to take. So, like, she's like, you need to be careful with this whole situation because this is not natural. This is, like, not how it should be. But then all that does is give Magos the idea to feed it. So she feeds the lung and it starts to grow, and it ends up attacking the family dog, and then it attacks her mom, and it's a whole thing. So right now, Magos has left her mom's house to go live with her best friend Lena, who is just kind of like taking care of her. And she knows what's happening, and she's like, you need to stop. Like, when it ended up attacking her mom, her husband Joseph, who was convinced to come down for a mass, beats it to death, what she thinks is to death, and it runs away. And so they think that's the end of it. But yeah, while she's over at Lena's, staying with her for a few weeks, Jackie seems to have found it and tells Lena, hey, I saw this hanging upside down somewhere. So that's kind of where I'm at now. It's pretty quick moving, especially for a book that is, so heavily focused on, like, grief and the characters and what they're experiencing in their grief. So that's pretty cool. I could not get a good, like, mental image of what this little creature looks like. And then just now, I was looking to see how many pages this book, and there's a little picture, and I can't imagine that this little guy would do anything wrong. And it's funny. So I am going to be trying to maybe finish this today. I have like 230 pages, but I don't have too much to do. So hopefully that will be able to happen because I am starting a trip on Thursday. However, tomorrow I am pretty busy. I have a doctor's appointment. I have to get ready for my trip. I have book club, and then I need to get to bed early because my sign-in is at 5:55 a.m. So hopefully I can get this knocked out at least most of the way today so I don't have to take it on my trip, because literally it's so annoying to take a book on a trip that I'm almost done with because it's like I now have to carry it around for 3 days even though I'm only going to be reading 50 pages of it or whatever. But if I leave it at home, it's like, no, I want to finish it. So it's a whole thing. My life is really, really difficult. It's really a tragedy. So anyways, I'm gonna get back to reading and I will check back in later. All right, so I spent the bulk of today reading my book, and I'm on the last section, which the first section was from the perspective of Magos, the second was Lena, the third is Joseph, and then this last one is M, or Monstrilio. So a lot has happened since I last updated in this book. Basically, Magos and Joseph kind of realized that it's basically a person. It does still have these urges for attacking people, though. So it flashes forward several years, and Magos and M are living in Berlin because she's become a performance artist. I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to spoil all of this, but we're basically seeing that, M is doing his best to be a human and not a monster, but his monstrous tendencies are still in there. So I keep comparing in my mind, this is a super deep cut, and I don't expect anybody to know what I'm talking about. But there is a musical that was off Broadway called Bat Boy, and this is like very similar in this part of the story anyways. So again, I don't expect anyone to get that reference, but if you look up a synopsis, it's very, very similar. So I'm definitely planning to finish this tonight. I have less than 100 pages now, and I am looking forward to that. But I am going to go to my bar class, and then when I get home, I'll finish it and update, and then I will be able to start my next book for this video. Hello. So last night I finished reading Monstrilio, and overall I'm giving it a 4.5. So pretty good. I just think like it was just maybe a hair too weird for me. There was just a little bit too much of that. But I really, really enjoyed it. I found the writing to be beautiful. The story was really interesting and different, and it reminded me, like I said before, of the musical Bat Boy. The way that everyone was grieving Santiago differently and kind of trying to like recognize that Santiago and M are sort of the same person, but also not. I don't know if that would make sense if you haven't read this, but I felt like every character in this was both like I was sympathetic towards them, but also I thought that they were kind of selfish. So multifaceted people. I also really liked getting four different perspectives and like, it always moves forward in time, but we're getting it from different perspectives, which I really like. The end of this, I thought was really sweet. Maybe sweet is not the right word, but I do think that this is like the only way this book could have ended and left me like satisfied with it. So I'm very happy about that because, I think had this ended differently, it would not have gotten like as many. I might have given it a 4, maybe even a 3.5. So very happy about that. And overall, this was a great pick. I had actually purchased this book several months ago because of recommendations from Gabby Reads and Allie from All I Do Is Read. And you guys nailed it. This was a really good one. Hey, pals. So today is Thursday, January 30th, and it's been a rough day. As everyone knows by this point, and by the time this video comes out, you'll for sure know, but last night there was a plane crash between a commercial aircraft and a military helicopter, and it crashed into the Potomac River in DC, and there were no survivors. So it's been a really tough day, I think, for everyone, but I think the aviation kind of community is just feeling it a lot. um, and like, I'm not trying to make this like tragedy about myself in any way, but I feel like it's just another level of like things that we, you know, go to work every day knowing can happen, but like trusting that they won't, basically. And so for a lot of us, it's like our worst fears come true. So yeah, I started getting phone calls last night and text messages around, I guess, 10 or so, 10:30. I had gotten into bed at like 9 because I had to be at work this morning at 6. I started getting texts, and I woke up and looked at my phone, and then I saw everything that was happening. And so I did not really sleep much after that. So I'm pretty tired. Um, and today I was actually supposed to go through DC, but my flight was canceled this morning. So now I'm just in Charlotte hanging out and just kind of being sad in my room. I don't know how my reading's going to go today because I'm just feeling so down and I don't feel like my focus is very good. There's a Barnes & Noble not too far from here, just across the street. So I might go over there and like retail therapy. But yeah, so that's life right now. And of course, my just heart goes out to everyone affected by this tragedy, which I'm sure is everyone because it's just really, really sad. So the only thing I can hope is that everyone died on impact so nobody had to suffer or be scared for any length of time. Because that's always what I say is like my biggest fear is it's not like dying, it's being scared, if that makes sense. Like, if the plane's going down, I just don't want time to be afraid of it. Anyways, yeah, so bummer day, and it will probably be a bummer day tomorrow too, but we'll get through it, and I'll come back when I have more to say. Hello again. So today is Saturday, and I'm starting to feel a little better. It's still like just, I don't know, a lot to think about, a lot that's heavy on my mind, but that's okay. Life goes on. I did just start reading This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno, and this was one of Jess Owen's favorite books of 2024. So this was one that I was very excited to kind of get my hands on. Um, I just finished editing the first part of this video and wow, it's like 20 minutes long. So I'm gonna try to be more succinct with this one. So this is about a couple who buys like an Itza, but it's I think supposed to be like an Alexa, and it's doing really creepy stuff. And basically the book opens at the wife Vera's funeral. And so from the get-go, I'm already like, oh my god, another book with grief. But as you can see, I actually tabbed something already. What was it? Oh, it was where Tiago, who is the other part of the couple, he said, what they say, call me, what they mean. It's your responsibility to let me know when I have to care. And, luckily that hasn't really been my experience, but it is something that, was very interesting to me in the early stages of my grief when people would be like, let me know if you need anything, let me know if I can do anything for you. And I'm like, can you just check in like a week and I'll let you know then? Like, instead of making the grieving person do like the work of reaching out. Again, it's, I was very lucky. I have a lot of really close friends that were really there for me. And of course, I have a wonderful husband and a wonderful family. But yeah, it was just like, oh, I can definitely see this. And it was definitely something I read about in some grief books that I read. So this is actually written in a really cool way. This is written in like the second person, like where Tiago is writing basically to Vera, is like speaking to her. And so he's like, your mom and yada yada at the funeral, like someone with your maiden name, blah blah blah. And so I didn't know if I was going to like that at first, but actually I really do. It's pretty cool. And so, I mean, I'm not far at all. I'm on page 24, but I do need to get to bed because I have another early morning. But I just kind of wanted to like pop on and give like a very brief little mention of what I was reading next. So this is short. It's like 250 pages. And so I think that I will finish this soon. Tomorrow I'm just one leg flying to Dallas, and then I have the whole day. So we get in around, I think, like 11 a.m. So probably going to just do a lot of reading and see where the day takes me. So I will check in later. Okay, so it's actually a few days after my last clip, and I just finished reading This Thing Between Us. So, yeah, when I got to Dallas the other day, I ended up filming my January wrap up and then editing it and then posting it. So, I honestly, after all that was said and done, I didn't have a ton of time to read more, but I did finish it this morning, and I have to say, I really loved it. There was a lot of stuff that I'm still not really sure how the end ended. Like, it got pretty confusing, but I do think that it's one of those books that sort of left open-ended for a reason. And I did look over on like Goodreads at other people's reviews of it just to make sure I'm not like missing something obvious. And that was pretty much the consensus, was that like no one really understood the ending, but it was such a beautiful story that it like didn't really matter. So, yeah, this one really got me. This man, he's so just distraught over his wife's death and, feeling responsible for it. Now, going into this, I really thought it was going to be about like a haunted Alexa, but that's like not really it at all. So if that's what you're looking for, this is not that book, but there was a lot that reminded me of Pet Sematary, which is like maybe the most famous example of grief horror. There were parts that reminded me of Cujo, which I hate, but it's very little that reminds me of Cujo. And I just thought it was beautiful. The end, yeah, was sad. At least the way that I interpreted it, it ended to be like very moving, but kind of happy, I guess. It's hard to kind of explain without spoiling anything, kind of how this story ends up unfolding. But our main character, Tiago, after the death of his wife, he buys this little cabin in like Colorado where like nothing is around, and he kind of just can't stop getting reminders of his wife. I'll leave it at that, but it was fantastic. So thank you, Jess Owens, for this fantastic recommendation. I loved it. So I have actually started the next book that I'm going to read. I just started it. I'm not very far. And that is The Mare by Angard Hampshire. I probably said that wrong. I will look it up and fix it in my next clip. This was recommended by Ellen Made Book Club, and I am really enjoying it so far. The writing is a little, it's just very straightforward. There's not a ton of like descriptors. There's not a ton of like, I don't want to say emotion, but it's very like, this is the facts. So this is actually based on a true story of a woman named Hermine Braunsteiner, who was a guard at a concentration camp, and she was the first woman to be extradited and tried for war crimes. So this so far is really good. It's kind of going back and forth between two timelines, actually kind of like three timelines, because there's like the present day essentially where her husband answers the door, or she answers the door, and her husband is like, who is that? And it's like a reporter from the New York Times that like has found out who she really is. And then we follow the timeline of her and her husband meeting like maybe 12 or 15 years after the war. And then we have the timeline of her as a child and like seeing how she became a Nazi basically. So it's kind of scary because I'm like reading about like Hitler's rise to power and all of that, which is just a little too real right now, but I am really enjoying the story, and the chapters are like each like a page or two long, so we love that. Oh yeah, one thing to say about this thing between us is that there really aren't chapters, which was a little bit annoying. There are a lot of like breaks in like the writing, so it was like if you needed to find a stopping place, it was relatively easy to, but like I like chapters. So yeah, that's the only thing about that one. Yeah, so other than that, this is going well so far. It's a real easy read, although I'm sure it's going to get harder once we get into more of the like actual scenes set in the camp. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm about to go take 2 bar classes because I have to finish this challenge and get my free hat. And then tomorrow I start another trip. I have a long time in San Diego, so I say it, but who knows? I am hoping to get some reading done. And yeah, I will let you know when I get a little further into this. And yeah, I'll see you later. Hey guys, so I am currently in San Diego, just had the one leg out here today, and it is a gorgeous day out, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting out and seeing the city a little. I had a really light load on our flight, so there were only about 130 passengers, and the aircraft holds 196, so needless to say, it was also early in the morning, so I got to do a lot of reading on my flight, and I made a lot of progress in the Mare. I have less than 100 pages left, so I'm definitely hoping to finish this today. So a little bit about what's going on. I hadn't gotten too far yesterday when I updated. So this really is just telling the story of this woman and how, she kind of turned from a regular person into doing the bidding of the Nazi party. And, it's kind of jarring how quick the transition was for her, I guess, because she's working as a nanny in London, and then she's forced to go back to Austria, and she takes work at a factory. And then at the factory, they like say that she's going to work at a prison as a prison guard because the pay is so much better, and they get paid for free room and board. So she can send like more money home and stuff. And so the prison camp then is like eventually a concentration camp, and then she transfers into I can't remember where she transfers to. A different camp that has gas chambers. And so she eventually gets so upset because of basically a boyfriend that she like has so much rage and ends up like being the heartless, just absolute evil, and having no qualms with just killing the prisoners. So it's flashing back between that timeline and then the current, not current day, but like 1964, when basically this reporter comes and kind of outs her to her husband, who she had only told like little parts to, not the whole thing, and he like definitely did not think she was a Nazi. He thought that she was just someone that like worked at a prison. And I mean, I imagine it was kind of crazy back then because, you meet someone, they met in Austria, and if she had been over there the whole time, I don't know. I guess I don't have a clear picture just myself on where the people stood that like were not a part of the Nazi regime, but also were not like sent to a camp. So I guess just like people like I don't really know like how they factor into everything. I hope that made sense. I don't know, like people that didn't support the cause but people who didn't do anything to fight back, if that makes sense. So anyways, yeah, I mean it's been pretty harsh. Like I mean it's hard to read about the tortures that these people faced. And in the second timeline where we're finding out like about this article that's getting in the paper and stuff, it's like very hard to like feel any sort of like sympathy towards them. I feel sympathy towards her husband, who's like totally clueless on what had happened. But she keeps saying like I was just doing what everyone else was doing. I was just there doing what I had to, serving my country. And that like just gives me chills because of just the parallels to the present day in the United States, and just it's pretty scary to kind of think about this story in the mindset of today in the US. So I'm going to finish this I think today. It's pretty quick to get through just cuz it has really short chapters, and so I will, check back in once I have finished it and update with my final thoughts. Okay, I didn't intend to check back in until I was finished reading, but I had actually a little bit longer than I thought I did. And I am now just like getting so frustrated because, I mean, this woman just refuses to take any accountability for her actions in the past. And she is just saying, I was just doing what everyone else was doing and I would never do this. And like little by little, things are coming out. Like, she insisted to her husband that she was not a Nazi. She was just working for them, basically. And then he finds in her belongings a war like medal that has a swastika on it. And he's like, what the fuck is this? And so it's just like all these little things kind of like not adding up. And so I'm kind of to where she has gone to trial, and he keeps finding out all of these things that she essentially either lied about or lied by omission. And I just can't believe that he's still with her and like still supporting her, and like keeps saying like everyone's lying. These are all lies about her. And, she keeps saying that she's not responsible for like what the military leaders like forced her to do. And I just am having a hard time with that because I get like that in that situation, it's really hard, but like you got to that point. You could have left working at the camp earlier. Like, and she probably still could have, because I feel like there were other people that left. I don't know. Yeah. I'm interested to see how this ends, and especially knowing that it's like a true story. A fictionalized account of a true story, a real person. I had to stop myself from like Googling this woman before because I don't really know how it's all going to end. But yeah, it's pretty hard to read about. And even for her husband, Russ, like sitting in court hearing testimony by a Holocaust survivor saying like things that he witnessed her doing, and he's still like, okay, if you say they're lies, then I like guess I believe you. And I'm just like, bro, I'm all about like standing by your people, but there is a limit, I think, to where your loyalty, if you're just being ignorant because you don't want to believe something, I don't know. That's where there's kind of a line with where loyalty versus like morality. So anyways, I'm going to continue reading, and I really will finish it this time before I check back in. Hey guys, so it is now 6 o'clock, even though it feels like 10 o'clock. And I just finished reading The Mare. I did actually go out and do stuff today, so even though I'm sitting in the exact same spot, you can see it's dark outside now. Well, actually, you can just see a reflection. But anyways, I did go out for a little bit, and then I came back and finished reading this, and I feel so... I have a lot of feelings. This was a really tough one, and I think, I mean, I'm gonna give it, I think, like maybe a 4.25. I'm not usually that specific, but since I'm using Fable for tracking and it lets me do quarter stars, I'm gonna give it a 4.25 because I thought it was a really interesting story. It was told in a really accessible way, but the writing was just like not my favorite. I feel like it could have been better. But man, what a story. And I have to say, like, it's definitely going to be one that I continue to think about because it really does ask a lot of questions. Like, how much are we responsible for the things that we are kind of like coerced or like, I mean, it's kind of like being in any kind of like dangerous cult. It's like, yes, the people involved are victims, but they're also perpetrators. And in this case, I mean, sure, she was told that what she was doing was right and that like Jews were disgusting and horrible, and same with all the other like minority groups that were put in concentration camps. But like at the end of the day, like you know that like murder and like the horrible atrocities that you witnessed were not okay. So that part is just hard. And like the fact that even till the very end, she really didn't take accountability. Like, there's only so much that you can kind of shove off, and you can say, like, this is what happened, and I was definitely influenced by what I was being taught, and I wasn't like kind of listening to any other side of anything or any reason or whatever. But like, you have to admit your part in that. And so to me, yeah, I don't know. That was really something that I know is going to continue to be on my mind because it's still timely. So, yeah, that was definitely a good read and I would absolutely recommend it. So, thank you to Ellen Made Book Club. That was a great pick. So, I actually have a couple more books that I have planned on reading for a vlog like this. However, I'm going to turn it into 2 vlogs because this one I think I am done with for now. I will have another part of this coming up in I don't know when, but this was enough for now. I think I did pretty awesome. I'm pretty happy with the way that this turned out. All of these books I ended up liking. And actually, wait, one more thing I wanted to say. I mentioned how it was alternating chapters, so we get like what's going on with her main, what is it? Hermine? 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 So the chapters like in the past, like during the war, are from Hermine's perspective, and then the other ones are from Russell, her husband's perspective. But the way that it's written is written in the second person again. So he's like, I looked into your eyes and like whatever. I couldn't believe what you were saying. And so it's really interesting only because in the previous book that I read, that's how it was written also, and talking to a spouse. So anyways, I just thought that was interesting. So I want to know if you've read any of these, what you thought, and if you are planning to read any of these. Also, please feel free to let me know what your favorite book of 2024 was, because I'm always looking for more recommendations. But these 3 were so good. I am super happy with this. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!